Hello there, it's Crazy John Carrots here on OSH Radio, and today I'm with Ella. Yeah, Ella, LA. No, La Bright. Looks like LA. I'm thinking about California, but LA Bright, and you are a psychic. Maybe you could tell us about you. Tell us when you first realized you were psychic, and what got you into doing into the psychic realm, shall we say?
So my dad was psychic too. He did Reiki healings. He called it healing of the hands. And I guess around the age of 5, my neighbor, we called her Grandma Cheyenne, she passed away. And we didn't go to the funeral, but we went to the gravesite. And in Baltimore, there's this one where it has like literally thousands of graves. It's very big. And they went off looking for her one way. I just started walking another way. And I swear I heard her in my ear say, "I'm over here." And I literally felt led to walk just a couple feet. I put my hand on the gravesite. I couldn't read at that time anyway. And I said, "She's over here." And when my parents came back and they saw it was her grave, my mom, she had a master's in psychology, so she didn't like any of this. Even though she was nice about it, she just didn't. But my dad, he goes, "Okay, well, it's time for me to start talking to her about what we can do and things like that." So he was really gentle about it. But when that happened, things started happening more. So it's almost like the spirit world was like, "Okay, let's do this. It's time." But that also around that time, maybe a year or so before, I started having like monthly dreams, sometimes more, of me outside in my backyard at night, and these silver round UFOs would just slowly fly above me, flying away from me. And I didn't know what they were. And I mean, I had this dream for years, right? And then my dad, he watched a UFO movie, and I go, "I know what they are. I dream of them all the time." And see, I didn't know that he had had experiences and it scared him, so he didn't talk about it. So, but now I've learned that those dreams were screen images that they put so that I wouldn't remember, you know?
It is interesting. A lot of people don't realize, in the old days, people did things and they didn't always talk about them. Talking about dreams and stuff, I used to have dreams of my toy box talking to me. And it was kind of demonic, actually, the dream. And my grandfather would come into the room in the dream and chase them away. And I just thought, it was because my grandfather was a authority figure. But later on, when I got a little older, I found out that my grandmother, his wife, my grandmother, my grandfather's wife, had found pictures that his sisters uh, had done voodoo-like things to pictures of her because they didn't like her. So his family did do things like that, and it was interesting that he was the one in the dream that kind of banished the spirits. And it's interesting, people don't realize like it was things I think that a lot of people would think of as voodoo type things, but they were German. And people don't realize that a lot of this stuff has been around, and it's been around in a lot more places than
Oh, yeah.
just in the islands and New Orleans. And if you look back, there's a lot of things people did that people didn't realize or know about. So it's interesting you said that about your dad and stuff, because I mean, this stuff went on years ago, and sometimes people just didn't admit to it and they did it. So
Right. Exactly.
so after that, once you finally realized that you were having these experiences, where did you go with it from there?
Sorry, I shut the door.
Yeah.
Um, so through most of my life, it honestly scared me a little bit. Especially the spirit world, because they have way more energy, and it just frightened me because I felt so much and I didn't know why I was feeling. So I can feel, I'm a medium too. I pick up people that have passed, and sometimes when they find someone who can sense them, they get really excited, and that scared me. The aliens, I've been abducted probably most of my life. Um, but they do something where I call it alien Xanax, and they numb me completely. So I'm a shy, like anxious person in general. And when I'm really scared, I'll like keep yapping, right?
Hmm.
But when I mean, I've literally seen a craft up close. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And I didn't tell anybody about it. After I drove under it, I don't remember going home. It's just like they just shut me down completely. And so even when I talk about it now, it's almost like I'm trying to fight my words to get it out. It's very strange, you know. So they do have this hold over certain people. Um, but now since I've been with Bob, he's a retired CIA, and I met him by accident. A couple years ago, I lost my parents and my boyfriend of 15 years, my son's father. And I just decided to stop hiding being a psychic so that I could help others feel better because I literally had nobody to talk to, really, because everybody I loved passed. So I was watching a YouTube show late at night, falling asleep to it, and Bob came on, and I had that usual feeling of, okay, you have to give a message. So I did I'm not a weirdo, I don't want anything, but I have a message for you. And so I didn't know who he was, and he got all excited and tested me, and then his other friends, government, all this tested me, and we became friends, and now we live together. And it's nice because he knows the scientific part, and also he videotapes things. He's got all his gadgets, so I don't feel as crazy anymore because it's a very strange line you have to walk when you are an experiencer or psychic or anything, you know.
Well, that's interesting. I was going to joke about Bob there. I think I knew he looked familiar, but I think I knew him under a different name at one time when he was on a mission. No,
Oh.
not from a previous life, from a previous
Secret agent, yeah.
job. But yeah, I think it is interesting how people, I hear that from other people that have said they've been abducted and how it's sometimes they can't move and they talk to them and a lot of times though they feel relaxed and they don't feel like it's a problem or an issue. They're actually very relaxed.
Right.
It'd be nice maybe if they could give us a supply of that stuff for regular daily life,
I know. I want a present every time I get abducted. I want them to pay half my rent, and I want like flowers.
if they're gonna do, if they're gonna communicate with you, they can pay you for it, you know. So what do you think? So now you said about abductions. What do you feel that the aliens are communicating to you for? Is there a reason or?
I have a couple theories. One, my parents and well, I'm O negative, my parents were O negative. And there's like a conspiracy about O negatives where scientifically we don't know much about it, which I think's strange. We know about everything, you know. And if we don't know about it, we dig into it, right? Um, maybe I've heard from other friends like John Carpenter. He worked under Bigelow, and sometimes children that are psychic get visited by aliens, and when they're abducted, they help make them more psychic, or they teach them different things to bring back here. Or sometimes I just think I'm monitored, like maybe a little guinea pig. I really don't know because I've woken up with. I mean, even recently, I had a V-shaped dark bruise on my inner chest area where you can't get a bruise, and it's just strange. Or like I woke up with a triangle bruise on my arm. Now I bruise easily on my legs. I don't really bruise on my upper body at all. But when I do bruise on my legs, I'll keep that thing for like a month. But these that go away 2 to 3 days, they're gone. It's strange. So um some people saw the triangle and they contacted me, and they like Grant Cameron contacted me. He said there's other people that wake up with this. You're not strange, you're not alone. And so he talked about it in conferences he did, and it's just it's relieving because I've been waking up with strange bruises, and I honestly didn't know why for many years. So maybe they're testing me. I don't know, really.
I was going to joke and even before Bob, you were waking up with bruises. But you mentioned the blood type, the O. I believe the O negative and O positive. One's a universal donor and one's a universal recipient. I believe something like that. Now, here's an interesting thing: the genetics of that. Have you ever wondered about the relationship to that with the aliens? Because I know I had a book years ago where they mentioned the genetics of Lemura and Atlantis,
Yes.
and how they believe that, like, you ever notice that some people will get one form of arthritis and others will get another form of arthritis, but they usually won't both get, both, one person won't get both forms of arthritis.
Right.
And in the book, they talked about it being the genetics of which old civilization that they genetically came from.
Yes.
Now, since you mentioned that about the old blood, have you ever thought that maybe that has something to do with genes, or I know people mention the hybriding of
Oh, I
maybe
do. Yeah.
alien genetics have been inserted into people.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered about that?
I think I might be hybrid. I've never felt like I fit in ever. And when I was younger, I used to say, I want to go home. This isn't home. And I didn't know why I was saying it. It was just strange, you know? Um, but a few years ago, I sometimes I'll look up at the stars and just like make a wish or talk or whatever. And I said, could you please tell me, where am I from? Where's my home? And I had a dream. And usually spirits or whatever talk to me through my dreams to give messages to people or warnings in real life. And the dream said M56. And so when I woke up, I Googled it, and it was about, what was it, Lyra and Palladian and Draco. I didn't know anything about this stuff. And it's a huge thing. So that was a key to the path I have to look on. I thought that was helpful and amazing and interesting. So yeah, I do believe very much.
So throughout your life now, so this started when you were a child.
Mhm.
How has it affected you, and how do you think it has affected your path through life and what you've done in your life?
Um, I believe when you have experiences or you're psychic or and you keep it shoved down and quiet, I believe it causes depression. I've heard other people experience depression or it's been hard, it's been good and bad. I'm glad I could help people. I'm glad, you know, I'm a very boring, shy person, so this is exciting, right? This is neat, but it's been really hard. I personally believe I know it sounds crazy, but I believe I lost my family and a friend to a negative energy. And I know that sounds cuckoo, but the second my dad passed, and it was from strange circumstances that nobody knows how, things just started going crazy. Boxes would pile up, and other people saw this. Boxes would pile up in the doorway, so couldn't get through. Um, supposedly, I called my friend late at night, but it wasn't my voice. It was like a growly male voice, and I looked at my phone, and it did call her, but it wasn't me. It's just lots and lots of other stuff. I mean, at one time I woke up. I'll say it a nice way, but I woke up to something being very inappropriate to me, and but I couldn't see anybody, and so I looked that up and it said incubus. Some people think reptilian, but that scared me. So something was there, and I would have never believed it quite as much as until I experienced it, I guess. So
Now you said about helping people. So you've used this to help people. How have you done that?
when people lose somebody, I can connect to them by looking at a photo. So if you're alive, I'll read your eyes because one eye shows your inner self, things you hide or think you've experienced. Even if you've been abducted, I'll see it. And the other eye is how you present yourself, maybe some health issues, things like that. Um, and so I enjoy connecting people. Like one time I connected. Okay, so the spirits will find me and literally put a photo on my phone. Like my Facebook will pop open and there'll be a photo, and then I'll know it's them. So I'll look into it, and it was the son. He was in the army and he passed, and so I contacted the mom, and she didn't believe. She was kind of angry, and I said, "Look, just let me give you a message, and that's it." And it she realized it was him. And so I said, you can keep coming back for free. I don't want anything until you feel a little bit more. So things like that make me feel better and make them feel better, if that makes sense. I know it sounds selfish, but
No, that's interesting. And so now you've been helping. How long? How many years have you been helping people?
on and off since I was a teen, but full time, it's been about 3 years now. Yeah. So, and I feel strong. I'm not as scared because I make a joke that my mom was from New York, and I know she'll kick somebody's ass on the other side if they try. So I feel better. I know I'm very protected. I've learned techniques before. I never knew to really protect myself as much, and I would get sick or whatever would happen. But now I've learned all the techniques of protection for my body and my space, so that's helpful, really.
So now you mentioned your dad had abilities. Any siblings or any uncles, aunts, or cousins that also have abilities?
No, I'm an only child, and he had a twin and older sister, but they never talked about it. They never showed anything like that. So, but he actually found out more later in his life. I think he was in his 30s or 40s that he went down that path, right? He's been having experiences, but the psychic, I think something happened in his life. He didn't share, but he really went really deep into magic and healing and this and that. And he would go to a weekly meeting with friends. So meditation. So he was very fully into that world. But he wasn't pushy, which was nice. He taught me how to move the pendulum with my. We have our own power. We can move objects. He tried to teach me tarot cards, but like my ADD was like, no, this is not going to. But it's interesting. Now I have a son. I don't really talk to him that much. I want him to be more. I know it sounds bad, but I want to be normal because I got picked on, right?
So now you got to define normal, though. So
Yeah, but I noticed that he does have the dreams like I do and other things. So as he gets older, I've been talking to him a little bit here and there. So
okay, now I guess the next question I'd like to say is: now you've been doing this 3 years. Where would you like to go with this? How would you like to progress? What is your dream? What do you, maybe not your dream, what do you feel is the reason for it, that what you should be doing? What do you feel you should be doing with it? Do you feel there's a calling that you haven't done yet that you're working towards, or?
I know I was given a message with the alien aspects or otherworldly beings, whatever people like to say. Um, Bob and I are supposed to do a soft disclosure, so gently tell people a lot of them are here to help us. They also need our help. It's got to be a team effort. But for some reason, certain ones that, especially ones that want to help us, can't get that close to us. But the other ones that don't have the best intentions can get closer. I don't, but they're like mixed in with the government, those types. So maybe that's how they can get closer. I don't know. With spirit side, I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I think people will come to me and I'll help heal their hearts. I think that's perfect, honestly. And hopefully I do that for the rest of my life. I would like to do that because there's a lot of pain in this world. So we definitely need some type of spiritual hug. There you go. We need that.
So that you just like to keep doing it how you're doing it? Would you like to put up a brick and mortar type place, or just reaching out through the internet, or how do you see on progressing with that?
I definitely don't want to pay rent
You said you don't want to pay rent?
on a storefront. No. So I have a website, so people find me there. And Bob, he's pretty popular online, so he puts my name out there. And I think that's good. I know I've talked at conferences, Lori and Fenton's conference in California, or where was it? Somewhere over there. So I do talks and stuff like that, which is fun. This is good for me. I like the slow and steady baby steps because I'm still getting used to being public. I'm not really used to it that much. But I feel something big is going to come. I just don't know what yet, but I feel it. I really do.
Now, it's something big. This is what I was going to ask you anyhow. Do you think that do you mean something big for you, or do you mean something big in the world
World, yeah.
totally? For the
I
world?
I think I don't think it's doom and gloom like some people. There's going to be a shift, right? And some of that is going to be a little scary, like not bad, maybe like more floods or this and that, but that's just how it's got to be, right? But I feel there's going to be a shift energetically where what I've been told is that we'll be able to see more of what's around us. So more, there's lots of different beings around us that we just don't even see. I mean, all of it, by you, me, everybody. And something will happen where there's a shift where we can see, but that is supposed to happen so that we can get on our path again. We've been derailed a lot from where we're supposed to be. So this is good.
I think we've been derailed in a lot of places, and even if you're not talking about the spiritual world, I think we've been derailed. I mean, I'm in my mid-60s, and I remember a time, by this time, we thought we'd be on the moon, on Mars. I remember a time when they were thinking that we were going to be living underground to save the environment.
Right.
And I think we went down a major path of self-gratification and didn't care about that stuff anymore. I mean, I love my technology, but I think people have been absorbed by their technology. And that could be a new thing too. Is I have a book I wrote out there about theology and AI technology.
Yeah.
And because people argue, well, that's man-made. That's not what God wants. But then you have people that say, if it's made by man and man is made by God, then it's being made by God through man. So that's always my argument too about aliens. I've had some friends that say, "Oh, it wasn't really creationism, and it really wasn't evolution. It was guided by aliens. So there is no God. The aliens are our God." I'm like, yeah, but if there's aliens and they're the ones that actually helped us evolve, you still have to think of who created the aliens.
Right. Yeah.
And people just forget that it's not that simple,
Right.
And so that's one thing I always think about that people don't realize, and you just can't cut it that short. Oh well, if there's aliens and they seeded us and created us, yeah, but who created them? How did they get seeded?
Right.
There's a process that we're all a part of in some ways that we don't fully understand. And one gentleman I talked to, we talked about different dimensions, and
Yeah.
we live in basically a four-dimensional world. Width, depth, height, and then we have time. And even the way we perceive time might not be the same way other people perceive time.
Right.
But if there's beings that live in more dimensions than us, because I think supposedly science said there could possibly be 13 dimensions, it would be like a two-dimensional thing trying to visualize us, and they couldn't because they can't see into the third dimension. So some of it could be science, and I quote this a lot on my interviews. I love the one Thor movie where Thor goes, he says, what we view as technology you see as science. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's the other way. What you view as magic, we see as science and technology.
Yeah.
So, that's an interesting way to look at it also.
Oh yeah, I was listening to someone online, and today actually he was talking about the new God is AI because everybody worships it, and we do it all day long. It's interesting. And yeah, there are many dimensions. And I feel like I think well, what I've seen portals open up, and these energy beings or aliens, they come out of these portals, so they're from different dimensions. They can go wherever they want. For some reason, we're stuck. But I think that's on purpose. I do. I think it's on purpose that from birth, we're told that that's not real. And then they put stuff in our food and our water and our air and all the electrical stuff around us. It's like they keep us in a little cage, which is interesting. I'm trying to look into that a lot. There's conspiracies about that, but anyway, yeah, I think it's interesting, and the different dimensions, just from what I've experienced, have different types of beings, you know. Um, and also, my friend Deb Cobble, she is into the aliens and ghosts, and she's doing a lot of paranormal stuff now again. She said that she had an EVP of a spirit saying, "We see you as a ghost or a little light, like you see us sometimes." And and I thought
So
that was
which
interesting.
is interesting because it's like that concept if you only live in certain dimensions, you can only perceive other dimensions certain ways. And
Yeah.
you said about aliens coming through portals.
Mhm.
You know, if you watch some of the science fiction movies, they will warp through uh you know portals to go from one space to another to hit hyperspace and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking, I was having a discussion on that this weekend, and we think, oh well, then the aliens are from other dimensions. Maybe they're not as from other dimensions as much as we think, as maybe that's how they travel, and also could be shielding themselves in a way, and it might not be as different as we think it is.
Yeah.
And it could be going back to, like I said, you perceive it as magic, we perceive it as our technology. And that would be possible. I mean, that's something they theorize about, going through, wormholes and different things. And
Right.
it just might be things we don't understand, and we're trying to perceive them in such a way. In the old days, the gods were made to explain nature. And some people probably get mad at me, but some people's concepts of God are still based on the old pagan God concepts. Pagan sounds horrible. The Greek, the Norse,
Right.
and it might not be that way. Some party I was talking to that was from a major religion, I'd probably rather not say it right here, but they actually believe that God is evolving just like we are evolving.
Okay.
And God could have brought the Big Bang into function and evolution to happen. And as we evolve, he's evolving as we're evolving, and it's a process.
Maybe.
And that's an interesting way to think of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's the thing. Nobody really knows, and it's funny when they're like, "No, this is how it is," and we don't know. We're learning, and that could be. I've heard that God, source, whoever sends us out, we learn, we come back to source, and so source learns more. So
exactly. I've often thought that people say, why do these things happen in life? And I've often thought maybe that's how God learns.
right.
And it seems cruel to us, but if we're not really dying and we're going back to the source and we're giving it information and it's
We're eternal.
learning through us, it's
Mhm.
kind of good for the whole. But that's kind of a interesting way to think about it too.
Mhm.
Now you were saying about AI, and I think you never know what AI could bring us. I mean, some people fear and would say that might be the furthest thing from spirituality. But for all you know, a computer, which is made by us, which is made by God,
Yep.
could generate the thoughts and computations and come up with equations and concepts that we are being bound to our limitations
Right.
are not, and give us solutions that we don't know.
Right. I think
So it might not be the anti-spiritualism that some people think.
right. It's because it's coming out. They're going out of their comfort zone, and I think that's where the fear comes from. Because God forbid something knows more than we do. That's evil. You know. I I think whatever happens with AI, it all comes down to what's in our hearts and souls. We can make it any way we want. It could be negative or positive, really, because we're really in control when it comes down to energetically. We are very powerful. We all don't realize that, but we can shift I believe we can shift our worlds. My dad said, be careful what you think and say because it creates the world around you. And I used to think that was bullcrap, but it's true. It's you create this world and you draw energies to you. So I think it's all up to us. I don't think there's anything bad with it. I'm sure we'll come into some not great things, but that's with it, literally everything. You know, I I don't fear it. I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll help us realize a lot of things we, like you said, that we didn't before. So, and even
So I try not to keep people too long because I know people can't hold their attention too long too, which is a sad thing to say. I've seen that change through my life. I started karate when I was 6, and we used to do 2.5-hour classes. and kids were thrown in with adults. And today you would never do a 2.5 hour class. Even for adults, you would not do 2.5 hours.
Right, yeah.
You do an hour, which is really 50, 55 minutes.
Right.
And that's pushing it. But wanted to say, let's say now you said you wanted to continue to help people. Where do you see yourself being in maybe a year? How would you see, what would you like to be doing in maybe a year's time differently than you're doing now? Anything?
Um, you know, so by doing this, it helped me work through grief, right? And I'm getting better. So every year, it's a goal of mine to release that sadness out of me by helping others. So my goal is to have cleanse myself of all the grief and everything as I get older and move on. Um, and I'd like to create a group actually, maybe next year, not right now, but I'd like to create a group, spiritual group for people that have gone through loss or some kind of trauma and just touch on it in a spiritual, energetic aspect, not so psychological. I think that could help. I always believe you need a doctor for psychological, but this is a different type of help. I think that would be beneficial.
I think a lot more and more people are realizing that some of the issues people have, even health wise, can be psychological things that have bothered them from early in life, a lot of them. And, you know, and I believe that some people hold on to that stuff.
Mhm.
And that might be the difference between some people that are successful and some people that aren't successful by how they internalize stuff and hold on to it throughout their life. And it can hold them back,
Yeah,
you know.
very much.
So that's a nice thing to be able to work with people. Now we talked about some of your abilities. I think you mentioned, the abductions, talking to spirits. What do you think is what is your favorite ability that you feel you have and that you'd like to develop even further as you mature, let's say. Let's not use the word age, let's say mature.
Um, I I can energetically talk to not just spirits but other beings, right? Or aliens, whatever you want to call them. I would like to be able to do that more clearly. I get in my own way. I doubt myself a lot. I think that's important to do that. I think they're here to help us, as I said. So I think if I could work on that and connect more clearly, I could get more messages out that they want out and things like that. Because that's very important, the messages, Um, because they connect. Sometimes I'll literally hear it in my ear. It's kind of like that. Sometimes they'll show up in a dream, or sometimes they'll literally flash. Just one flash. I have a flash. I'll do it, and then they'll flash back. It's amazing. It really is. And this is all on video. And they're up in the stars as far away. So they do little things to communicate. So I would like to communicate more clearly with them. I'm very happy about the spirit aspect. I think I do good. I think it's good to have a little bit of a boundary with spirits because some will take too much of my energy if they could. And not that they mean to, but no.
Now, I am going to say that I do want you to send me links like to your website and stuff, and anything you want me to put, like they say, down below afterwards. But now, is there any message, let's say in closing, you'd want to get out today to the people that are listening or watching this?
Yeah, one, look up at in the sky more often. Just lift your head up and look because they're all over the place. If you have lost someone and you're not sure if they're there, just talk to them. They literally just want you to talk to them, and I promise somehow they will give you a response, whether they make an attack or knock something over. So it's helpful for you to talk to someone that you miss because it's healing as well as helpful. And also, when you ask for help, you have to say, I allow you to help me also. Make sure you say, I allow you to help me, but only good energies. And I promise things will start happening for you. I wish for a lot of things after I lost my family, and I swear I got every single one of them. It took a couple months or a year, but it happened because I meant it with my heart. So that's all you have to do. Just mean it with your heart, and you can make a better life for yourself. So.
Now, I'll make this one my last question. Now, you're going to give me some links and stuff, and people can reach out to you. What would be the ideal thing you could see somebody reaching out to you for? What would you recommend somebody getting a hold of you for you to help them with? What would be your recommendation?
Well, if some people come to me that have had abductions, but they want more information on what happened, I can see what they did to you, all kinds of, stuff that you need to know, private stuff. It's also validating. I'm pretty much just validating what happened to them. Um, if you lost someone, I always connect. There's never a time where I can't connect to somebody. If you have questions about someone living or yourself, health stuff. Now, health stuff, just go to the doctor, but I'll tell you what I feel. So I do a lot of different things. Just, and even if you need to like talk, I'm a good listener. So,
Sometimes people need a listener.
right. I think a lot of us keep our experiences or whatever inside, like you said, and it creates this health issue. So if you want to talk, find me on Facebook. I hate Twitter or X, so just I have a website, lalabrightllc.com. So
Well, thanks for being with us today, and I will get those links out to people, and hopefully we'll do this again another time and have more stuff to talk about.
yeah, come on my show.
Well, just I'll come on your show. I'd be happy to do that. That'd be great. Tomorrow I'm doing an interview in the morning, and then I'm going to be on someone's podcast in the afternoon. And it's a gentleman I used to work on some movies with, but he has found that since COVID, the movie stuff has been kind of dried up for him. It's a little harder.
Yeah.
So he's doing podcasts now. So that happens. But okay, then. Thank you very much, and hopefully everybody will see this and get a hold of you for some issues. And hopefully they're asked some good questions, and either we'll cover them when you have me on your show, or I'll have you on again and we'll cover more things that people have asked. Thank you.
I really appreciate this. So.